From my Steam Most Played list, you can see that I'm a pretty big fan of the Xcom series. As you probably already know, this game series is a mix of strategy and tactics as it puts you in the role of the commander of the primary resistance forces of Earth against an alien invasion. I think that it is a well-designed game with a lot of depth, personality, and replay value. I give props to Firaxis and lead designer Jake Solomon. Last night I enjoyed being a guest on a podcast called The Three Creator Symposium, where one of the topics we discussed was how identity politics has infected game journalism. The members of the program had invited me on because they saw my last video in which I had responded to the "Gamers Are Still Dead, Y'all" article published by The Escapist. The members of the symposium noticed some parallels between how it has become fashionable to attack gamers, primarily on their press-prescribed identity of being heterosexual white men, and ongoing similar such attacks within academia that have also been inspired by the politics of identity. In particular, they drew my attention to the ongoing academic assault on University of Chicago professor of history, Rachel Fulton Brown. Her alleged crime? She argued via a blog post entitled "3 Cheers for White Men" back in 2015 that white men aren't the inherently evil misogynists that many professors in the gender studies departments portray them out to be. She gave 3 examples from history of how white men have actually played a role in the development of certain rights enjoyed by women throughout the Western world. In the post, Fulton highlights specifically chivalry and courtly love, the development of marriage into a sacrament valid only if both men and women consent, and supports for elements of feminism and universal women's suffrage. Now, she certainly didn't argue for the superiority of white men, only that she wanted to provide an educated counterpoint to the currently in vogue narrative of blaming them for all the world's ills. She concluded her blog post by saying, "And before you start telling me about all the terrible things that white men have done, take a moment to reflect that it was white men who voted in favor of the First Amendment to protect your right to disagree with me in the public sphere, including on matters of heated political discourse. So, 3 cheers for white men. Hug a white man today." Because of this post, Professor Brown has been labeled a white supremacist and has been under attack by her peers ever since. Learning of this inspired me to, once again, lament the utter ridiculousness of identity politics. Why in the world do we, as humans, make such a big deal out of the color of our skin? All it really amounts to is the inheritance of a genetic accident that determines the amount of melanin we produce. To me, this seems to be such a superficial metric by which to divide ourselves. If we're going to be so petty, why not carve ourselves into identities based along other genetically inheritable accidents like eye color, or left or right-handedness, or blood type, or average height? Half jokingly, I said that what humanity really needs right now is a good alien invasion to drive home just how stupid this whole thing has become. Invaders from another planet would probably laugh themselves silly thinking about how much emphasis our species places on these sorts of minor variations. "Oh look," they might say, "at how the humans are so obsessed with things like sex and race that they completely miss that they're all the same freaking species. They have vastly more in common with each other than they have that is different. What a bunch of morons. Taking over their planet will be a piece of cake." Which brings us back to Xcom. One of the cool things about the game is that it treats things like race and sex as entirely irrelevant in light of the bigger issue of surviving the alien invasion. Things like the nationality or the color of the skin of your resistance soldiers is purely cosmetic. You can even change it on the fly if you like. It doesn't matter because, as humans, we're all in this together. Hell, in the latest expansion for the game, there is even a resistance faction comprised of genetically engineered human-alien hybrids who have now joined in the fight for freedom. And they quickly become recognized as a welcome addition to the team. So, in my view, if we can't seem to recognize on our own how utterly stupid it is of us as humans to be playing this divisive game of identity politics, then bring on the alien invasion. Or the robot uprising. That would probably work too. In any case, game on, my friends.